Trudy Mason sitting in for Aaron Rand again this week, welcoming to the airwaves Joe Ortona, chair of the English Montreal School Board and president of the Quebec English School Board Association. And it is in his role as head of the association that we're talking to him about the government-ordered cuts to education. Now, you will remember there's been a bit of a back and forth on cuts to education. The province announced $570 million in budget cuts to schools all around the province. And then, after quite a big outcry, announced it would add $540 million to the budget for services directly to students. And I think issued a little warning at the same time to school boards that they were going to have to justify using that money only for services directly to students in an effort to do a little bit of an end run around the boards and the school services centers that might be hoping to put that money to other uses. So some people are pointing at this and saying, well, they took with one hand, they gave with the other to prioritize services directly to students. The Quebec English School Boards Association says it's unconstitutional to tell school boards how to manage themselves. Joe Ortona, thanks very much for joining us on CJD.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
Can you flesh out the argument you intend to use against the cuts?
Well, we've made it very clear since mid-June when the government announced these astronomical cuts. We wrote to the ministry and to the minister. We made it very clear that the manner in which these cuts were announced, the way that they didn't even consult on these cuts, that they have certain obligations to meet. The fact that we can't use any of our accumulated surplus, we made very clear, was unconstitutional and a clear violation of a Court of Appeal decision that just came earlier this year on the Bill 40 case that said that the government cannot micromanage how school boards spend their money and where they choose to prioritize allocating resources. The government seems to either not care or be completely ignorant in that regard. And we've never heard anything back. It's been radio silence. So they're not willing to negotiate with us. They don't want to meet with us. They don't respond to us. So they don't leave us many other choices other than to go to court yet again.
Speaking of going to court yet again, can the school boards afford another costly legal challenge? How much is this going to cost?
Yeah. I understand the question. The thing is, we can't afford not to take the government to task when they think that they can undermine school boards that they've tried to abolish. They've been unsuccessful. We fought to not be service centers and have the full democratic rights and responsibilities that we're supposed to have as elected officials of school boards to manage and control our school system. And the government seems to want to ignore that altogether. And, again, if we're forced to balance our budgets with the cuts that the government announced, it would have a detrimental impact on the students today. It would have a detrimental impact on their future. And it's just not something that we're willing to compromise to make up for this government's complete mismanagement of taxpayer money over the course of the last 7 years.
Do you anticipate the courts will rule quickly and, for example, oblige the government to put the cuts on hold while the case wends its way through legal proceedings?
Well, yes, in a way. I obviously anticipate that the government will rule quickly. We're hoping for some of this to be resolved before the school year begins. No school board has adopted a budget yet for the school year because, one, incredibly difficult to do so with the restrictive parameters that the government has set. And we're hoping that the courts will intervene and render decisions before we have to adopt a budget.
Do you have any backing from the school services centers, or are they just swallowing this?
The service centers are in a very, very difficult and peculiar situation. Nobody from the service center networks, from the administration of the service center networks, have spoken out publicly. They've all spoken under condition of anonymity because, of course, they are under the direct control of the Ministry of Education. And so they don't want to, compromise their career by speaking out against their employer. This is essentially what the government was trying to do with English language school boards. And they almost got away with it. Thankfully, we fought back and prevented that from happening. But they want to be able to, basically from top down, make whatever decisions they want to make with complete disregard to the well-being of the children and, the quality education that they're supposed to receive. And that makes it increasingly difficult, again, because they're directly under the arm of the Ministry of Education, for them to be able to speak out. We are communicating with them. It remains to be seen if they could, if any of them could join the legal challenge. But right now, we think we have a good case, and it's sad to say, but we have to think about the interests of the people that we represent as a community and that we were elected to represent.
I think for parents who don't necessarily follow the politicals ins and outs that the boards have to deal with, the fundamental question for them is, what is school going to look like for my kid in the fall? The government is saying, oh yeah, well, we did rein in spending. The government is painting that $570 million in quote unquote cuts as not cuts. It's just a lower increase than what the boards and the school services centers would like. So your budgets are increasing, just not by as much as maybe you think they're needed. And then there's this $540 million coming for services directly to students. What is that? Are the teachers' aides going to be there? Are there going to be field trips? Are there going to be little extras? What is school going to look like?
Well, here's the thing. If we had to balance the budget with the cuts that the government imposed and with the budgetary parameters that the government is trying to, shove down our throats, it will be impossible to start the year under the same terms as the way the school year has started in previous years. We will see some boards and service centers have no choice but to close schools entirely. We will have to see cuts and overcrowded classrooms and less teachers hired and less teacher aides and music and arts programs canceled and extra services and resources that we provide to the kids who need it the most, children with special needs, would not be available. So, we want to be able to do everything that we can in order to prevent that from happening.
But is that before or after the $540 million that you're going to be getting that has to go directly to services to students?
This is the thing. It's a nice spin when the government announces the money. I said it on the day of the announcement. The devil is in the details. The government did not announce $540 million. They announced up to $540 million. And guess what? That $540 million comes with a whole long series of parameters that need to be met, that many of us will not qualify for, because one of the impositions is that money is conditional on compliance with a staffing cap. Well, guess what? Many of us can't meet a staffing cap. Why? Because we staffed for this year already last year. We did it in accordance with the collective agreements that the government negotiated with the unions the year before. So they know this. So we're not getting $510 million. The government could have easily said, we're going to cancel the $570 million cut that we announced on top of the $200 million from last year. We're just going to cancel it. They didn't do that. They maintained those cuts. And then they said, but we're going to inject an extra $510 million. But guess what? We're going to tell you what conditions you are to qualify to get that money and where exactly that money has to go. And if it doesn't go somewhere because you don't need it there, you don't get to keep that money to put somewhere else. So you lose the money.
So I guess the point is families are going to have to brace themselves, because unless your challenge works and works immediately, it's not going to be a very happy school year for anybody.
Well, look, I sympathize with parents, and I understand, it's not easy to wonder and be in limbo and wonder exactly what, if they're going to start the school year, if their kids are going to start the school year with the same services that they've always been getting, and services that we're proud to have been able to provide over the years. But, these kind of things, they tend to move relatively quickly because the judges are sensitive to the fact that this is about a budgets for a school year where, kids are in class by the end of August. So
do you have a hearing date already, Joe Ortona?
No, we don't have a hearing date already. It hasn't been filed yet. The lawyers are working and getting ready to file, and it's going to be done in the coming weeks. And we're hoping to be able to get a date heard very soon.
Joe Ortona, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Chair of the English Montreal School Board and head of the Quebec English School Board Association.